Hello again, this is Miss Doolittle, and this time we are going to be writing an equation in standard form, and that's when we begin with slope-intercept form. So this is still from the slope-intercept and standard form assignment, so here we go. All right, now slope-intercept form. You guys, most students are pretty comfortable with slope-intercept form, and remember that as y equals mx plus b. That's the one where y is all by itself, which you can see that's exactly what we have down here. Standard form is ax plus by equals c. So what this means is my x and my y terms need to be on one side of the equal sign all by themselves, and then my constant needs to be on the other side of the equal sign, okay? So this a and the b just simply stand for coefficients that can be in front of the x. The a is a coefficient that can be in front of the x, and the b is the coefficient for the y, okay? So our goal then is to get the x and y terms on one side of the equal sign and the constant on the other. So hopefully what you can see here is that my 7x just needs to be moved over to this side. So what we have to do is the inverse operation. You can see that these guys are being added. My 7x is positive. How am I going to move that or undo that? Well, I'm going to have to do that with the inverse operation of subtraction. Okay. The 7x, the negative 7x, and the y are not like terms. That means I cannot combine them. I have to write them separately in this expression on the left side of the equal sign. The 7x minus 7x, those cancel one another out, and I'm left with a 5 on the right-hand side. And it certainly looks like we're finished at this point, but unfortunately there's a caveat. And what that is that my coefficient of my x term, so this value right here, is not supposed to be negative. So we're going to have to undo that. And the way that we're going to undo that is by multiplying on both sides of the equation by -1. That's actually a really bad spot to write that. Let me change that because it makes it look like subtraction. We are multiplying. Oh, here's what I can do. I can say I'm multiplying by -1 because the parentheses then signify multiplication. So negative times negative is going to be positive 7x. -1 times y is minus y. And -1 times 5 is -5. And now we have both the x and y term on one side of the equal sign, and we have the constant on the other side. So we have standard form. Okay, so we're done with this one. All right, moving on to slide 2. Here is another one, and this one obviously looks just a little bit different because we have a fraction in front of the x, but I think we're going to start off the same way here, okay? So I want to get my x term on the same side as the y, so it needs to move over to the left. Well, right now these two are being subtracted, so this can be tricky, but here's the thing. This negative is applying to the 5. It's the 5 that's being subtracted. The 1/4 x is actually positive. So we are going to have to remove it with a negative, with its opposite. Okay? So this is what this looks like so far. Remember, my x term and my y term, those are not like terms, so I have to write them separately, just like that. And I still have a -5 over on the right-hand side. Don't forget that negative, because remember, the negative is applying to the 5. All right, now, again, it looks like our job is done because we have the x and the y all on the left side and the constant on the right side. But again, we have a negative over here, so we need to get rid of that. And the other problem that we have is we're also not supposed to have a fraction as a coefficient for our x term. So here's how we're going to handle that. We are going to multiply this whole entire thing. Remember, we have to multiply by the same thing on both sides. This time we're going to multiply by -4 on both sides of the equal sign. Okay? And remember, I have to show that -4 over here with parentheses. If I just write a -4, it looks like subtraction, but we've got to remember that the operation we're using is multiplication. So we're going to have to use our parentheses to show that. Okay, so when I take -4 times -1/4, the negative times a negative is positive, And then the 4 and this divided by 4, when I multiply that through, that's going to wipe this out. So this actually becomes just a plain old positive x here. Okay? If I do some side work, this would be like negative 4 over 1 times negative 1/4 x. Well, negative times negative is positive, and my 4's are going to cancel. That's going to leave me with just a 1x, which is what you see down here. Now I also have to multiply the negative 4 times my y. So that's minus 4y, because remember we have to distribute that negative 4 to both of these terms. And then negative 5 times negative 4 is positive 20, because a negative times negative is positive. And there you go. We have proper standard form for that particular equation. All right, I hope this helps. And if you guys still have questions, please reach out and let me know. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.